Hello, Ingrid. How are
Hello.
you? I want to say hello to everyone and welcome them to I Need Living Conversations, the 140th session. I'm looking forward to the number 144 for this. It's like
Which
that's
will
one of the numbers I want to celebrate. I don't know why.
be in harmony with the golden spiral.
It's 144. Think about that.
Yeah,
144 hours, shows, videos, and
yeah,
times that we've been here gathered. I think that's quite a number.
it
So,
is. It's an amazing number.
and must mean something.
Oh, it will. Absolutely.
And we're talking about the journey of that involves and includes all these themes, subjects that we talk about on different shows. And today's topic, mindfulness and the honeymoon effect, is
Right.
um, is right where we are. We are in the honeymoon of falling in love, as Sacred Blue Heron woman told me before the show, in one of our many other conversations. That and I share the same feeling. We are in love with the path of walking into freedom, of
Right.
of opening up our minds, because going into freedom,
And bodies.
it takes the body and it takes the mind, and both of them have to walk together.
Right.
And there's a lot of walking to do.
There's a whole lot of walking to do.
So
A
it's
lot
like,
of mountain climbing to do.
yeah, so it's like that's great, because then you can take as much as you can, and as much as you want, and you have that freedom of going as far as you want to go. And we're doing that, and we're 140 sessions in, at least as far as this shows of this journey. And so that speaks of something. I think that
It
speaks
does.
of
Of a
being there,
commitment.
and living this honeymoon effect. So you're going to tell us more about that, Ingrid.
Well, seems like my computer just kind of.
Just broke down. So I show up as a studio today because I'm using the computer, but I'm going to try to set up
There
a
we go.
camera for next session. And I think this is a better audio for me
Okay. There we go.
with the phone.
So before before we go further, let's clarify a little bit more, since I've gotten the clarity of Aloha Aini Dao Living, which we could reframe as Mat, the Egyptian, right?
Mhm.
Which would translate into matriarchal Aloha Aini Dao,
Okay.
self-governing communalism ranching, crafted by OWL self-governing dojos,
Hmm.
which the dojo is the teacher of the way, right? The way of self-government.
Hmm.
You might say, I'm self-governed. Well, this talk tonight will show you just how much you're not
Hmm.
self-governed. So,
Hmm.
mindfulness and the honeymoon effect. Mindfulness, one of the many new age $1 million buzzwords that get talked about with great carelessness, just like sustainability. So, mindfulness, according to Webster's dictionary, it is defined as a state of active, open attention to the present, and it's also described as observing your thoughts and feelings without judging them. So, with this short description, my question then would be, how long is your present? Nobody asked that. How long is your present? 99% of us have a present moment of 10 seconds or less. In fact, that's generous. In fact, that's very generous, because what do they tell you in marketing? You have 3 seconds to make an impression. So that tells you that the vast that 99.9% of us have a present moment of 3 seconds.
Wow. What a way to know.
So to go a bit deeper would be to say that to live mindfully is to live in a moment, in the moment, rather than dwelling on the past or anticipating the future. And again, we're going to stress, how long is your moment? Is your moment 3 seconds or is it longer? Abraham Hicks says if you can hold a feeling of happiness for 17 seconds, it will go. Which I would say you've passed the 13, which is in relation to the golden spiral. So yes, it will go. But you have to hold it for that long.
Right.
And when you set a clock and hold a thought, when you set a timer to hold or a stopwatch and try to go for 13 seconds, you find out just how long 13 seconds is. So this is where the mindfulness train has led us all astray. To live mindfully is to live in the moment rather than dwelling on the past or anticipating the future. This is where the mindfulness train has led us all astray. Okay. The concept of not anticipating the future totally disregards the natural, organic law, and that's a human-only word. I haven't come up with the right of cause and effect. Totally disregards that. So most of us are quite happy when the effect of our cause that was only 3 seconds long smacks us in the face, so to speak. And then we blame it on something or somebody else because we were being mindful, so it couldn't possibly be us. So the deeper, because we're always going deeper with not, is that mindfulness has to do with envisioning the future, anticipating in the present moment how to shape that future, understanding that what you're setting now is the cause. What effect are you creating? While being aware of what programming from the past might be sabotaging the future. And this programming is your subconscious mind. So what is the honeymoon effect? Well, it's that state of bliss, that passion, that energy and health that results from a huge love. Your life is so beautiful when you're in the honeymoon effect that you can't wait to get up to start a new day, and you thank the universe that you are alive. So if we consistently envision a future of bliss, passion, energy, and health resulting from a huge love, mindfully, and expand our consciousness from the 3 seconds to say, let's say a solar cycle, which is 365 days. Imagine what would be your reality. The bottom line is we are self-biologists who create with the thoughts in our minds the love potions that control the cells and tissues of our bodies, or the negative potions. The sadness, the jealousy, the anger, the hatred, the greed. So where does this start? Well, most of us have been programmed to believe that all pregnant women can do to support their baby's health is to eat well, to take minerals, and to exercise. But it turns out that the more researchers learn, the more they realize how sophisticated the fetal and infant nervous system is. It has vast sensory and learning capabilities. Babies are not simply beings, but complex and ageless. They're small, growing creatures with unexpectedly large thoughts. And maternal blood contains a vast array of information molecules, such as the chemicals, hormones, and growth factors that influence the mother's emotional and physical health. So these chemicals that shape a mother's experience and placenta behavior cross the placenta and target the same cells and genes in the fetus as they do in the mother. So the fetus experiences the same emotions and physiology as the mother. Blame it all on the mother. Right? Awake or asleep, the studies have shown that unborn children are constantly tuned into their mother's every action, thought, and feeling. Unborn children are tuned in to their mother's every action, thought, and feeling. How mindful are we women during our pregnancies?
Mm-hmm.
So from the moment of conception, the experience in the womb shapes the brain and lays the groundwork for personality, emotional temperament, and the power of deeper thought. Blame it all on the mother. Not really, but we have to understand this as human beings. That when we get pregnant, what are we? What is the effect? So the developing fetal brain not only responds to the chemical messengers in maternal blood, it also acquires a memory of these chemical cascades that define its in utero experience. Memory. Okay, by the time a child is born, she or he has already downloaded the emotional music of a behavior, a tune that will endure throughout their life. So after birth, the child goes about the job of creating life experiences that become the lyrics that match that emotional music. And that is great if the melody was created in love, but not so great if the mother's state was not so loving during her pregnancy. That doesn't mean you just lay down and say, oh my God, my mother created this awful state for me. No. It's just you have to understand that the foundations of our personality are already developed by the time of our birth. So, can we do something about it? We most certainly can. In adult brains, electrical activity ranges over 5 frequencies, from the lowest, which are delta waves, which is our sleep state, to the highest, gamma waves. In babies and young children, the 2 lowest frequency brain waves predominate, and those are the delta and the theta. In the womb and throughout the first year, the human brain predominantly operates at the slowest brainwave frequency, which is delta waves. This is the brain waves that dominate during our deepest sleep. This is why babies need to sleep so much. You even see it in animal babies. And I mean, from observing goats, the goat kids, they can go into such deep sleep, you think they're dead. And they, it's so funny, I laugh at the goat kids because it's like, oh, you missed the train. Because they're so deep asleep that the whole herd leaves without them. And they're like, oh my God, Mom is gone. 10 minutes later, oh my God, Mom is gone. Right? Because they were in that delta. And that is what produces the growth. Right? That delta. So from 2 to 6, a child's predominant brainwave is theta.
Wow.
A vibrational frequency associated with the state of imagination, and theta waves are also the state of hypnosis, during which information can be directly downloaded into your subconscious mind. So for the first 6 years of life, children do not function in creative consciousness. They are in imagination and hypnosis brainwaves. All of us. There's no exception to this. No exception. If you were born Seventh Adventist or Catholic or Buddhist, there's no fucking exception to this. That does not make an exception. Right? So in this highly programmable state, they record vast amounts of information that they need to survive in their environment. But they do not have the capacity to consciously evaluate the information while it's being downloaded. That's the problem right there. I say, es el problema. Right? It's not just words that get lodged in our subconscious mind, it's behavior. So in their theta-induced hypnagogic trance, children carefully observe as well as listen to their parents and then mimic their behavior by downloading it into their subconscious mind. And what is always the first thing that comes out of their mouth in direct correlation, the curse words. So, your dominant subconscious mind, programmed by your parents, is controlling your behavior. None of the programming that you receive before the age of 6 comes from your desires, wishes, and aspirations. It is very important for us to understand this. My cousin thinks that this is not true, that she had say in this. No, you don't. None of your programming, none of your domestication you received before the age of 6 comes from yourself, your true innate goddess self.
Okay, that's important to highlight, I think, as a starter's thing to know. Yes. We need to, to be open to that, right?
Yes. It came from your parents, your church, and your community. So the Hawaiian words ku and unihipili are names for the subconscious mind. The roots of the word ku reveal a self that can be set up, that can establish things and can move from one state of experience into another. The roots of unihipili are very similar, but they also include the ideas of acting as a servant, acting secretly. Secretly. Why do we have special operation warfare? Why do we have the secret societies? Secretly, it's hidden ways. And then also of becoming attached to people, places, and certain ways of doing things. So the subconscious mind, it likes to feel in control of situations and may act or speak spontaneously without regard for others. So think about it. You're in this honeymoon bliss state with your newly acquired partner, right? And everything is voila, everything is heaven on earth. And then you get busy with life. And all of a sudden a problem comes up and your partner spits out this sentence. And you're like, what the fuck? Where'd that loving partner I just was with go to? And that partner's like, I'm not any different. They totally deny saying what they just said. The subconscious. But yes, the subconscious always seeks peace, freedom, and relaxation. However, it reasons like a computer, drawing conclusions and producing action in you from previous memories and experiences. And more often than not, you are not aware of these memories and experience that it draws from. Because it downloaded everything from ages 0 to 6 as you were in your hypnagogic state.
Hypnagogic, okay.
So, the subconscious mind, its primary function is memory, and the memories are stored in our body as a vibration, as blockages, as what Buddhists call samskaras. And then a movement pattern. So in stressful situations, the subconscious first goes to ancestral memories and then to learned memories for a way to cope. But it can't distinguish between past, present, and future. So when you call a memory to mind, you get very physical present moment effects. So if you call a memory from 10 years ago to mind, it's going to feel like you're experiencing it right now. Its primary motivation is pleasure, which is what Holy Mother wants us to do, offer her offerings of pleasure constantly, love play of pleasure, right? So our subconscious mind always wants to move toward pleasure and away from pain. So all of our habitual memory is based on mental, emotional, and physical behavior that has to do with this motivation. Our subconscious mind cannot make creative choices. It cannot invent new solutions. It can do only what it has learned from the past or copy from what others are doing in the present. Copycat. It's interesting that the right, what's a high school word? Poser. That was when my girls were in
Poser?
poser. You're a poser. You're posing as to be something.
Okay.
Copying.
Okay.
Copying, right?
Mhm.
So from birth to six, the wonderful part of this is from birth to six, our imagination and reality are one. We live in this vivid internal world of oneness connected to everything. Yet, unfortunately, during this magical time, we download other people's beliefs and behaviors by watching and listening to them. So, by default, the vast majority of our cognitive activity is controlled 95% of the time by previously acquired programs by others. Others. Can we say that again? By default, the vast majority of your cognitive activity is controlled 95% of the time by others.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in to whoever's listening. Let that sink in as you self-righteously say, oh my God, no, that's not true.
Yeah. Use your 5% to understand.
Use your 5% to let this sink in.
To understand that you don't have, that's the real 95% of their brain that is not used, that they used to myth about.
Yeah. So after the age of 7, the subconscious mind's primary source of learning is through repetition. What does grade school do? How do we learn times tables? Repetition, repetition, repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Repetition leads to habituation or domestication, as the Toltecs say. And that is the fundamental mechanism for programming subconscious behavior mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
But from age 6 to 12, our brainwaves move into alpha. So then our awareness becomes focused on our outer world. But we still have a powerful imagination at this point. And so we're still in this imagination and reality being one. But after age 12, we move into beta waves. And then this is where we're told that Santa Claus isn't real, the tooth fairy isn't real, right? All this imagination isn't real, and it's childish, and it's time to put it away and to focus exclusively on our outer world. And this is when we lost our way, so to speak. This is when we became fully disconnected, nearly fully. There's still a sliver of a cord from Holy Mother. So as our brain expanded into alpha and beta waves, we really start developing our conscious creative mind, which the vast majority of us spend only 5% of our time controlled by. When we bonded with our first love, we were head over heels in love, and our actions and behavior were controlled by the processing of our conscious creative mind. This mind acts on behalf of our desires. But over time, as we don't acknowledge our desires, and we task our creative conscious mind to deal with our outer world, and we have only a 3-second mindfulness presence, our conscious mind then relinquishes behavioral control to the default programs of the subconscious. And when our conscious mind stops paying attention to the present moment, we lose control over our honeymoon creation because we unknowingly engage in this programmed behavior that is all others, not ourselves, that we acquired through our developmental experiences and our habituations. And when the conscious mind stops paying attention to the current moment, we automatically and unconsciously engage in behaviors that we downloaded from others. This is why we so frequently are like with our, right, as I already said, what? I don't even know this person anymore. So for instance, this man I was with over a year ago, right? He's very, very Christian, can't have sex with you, Ingrid, anymore. It causes problems. We need to be married. And so I said to him, I can't be married and have sex, or I can't not be married and have sex. Otherwise, it causes me too much guilt. So I said to him, well, then let's get married. And he looked at me and said, I don't want to marry you. I'm better than you.
Oh yeah, you told me that story.
Right? And I looked at him and I was like, what? Gave it a few seconds to sink in, and then I came back at him with it, and he said, I didn't just say that. Yes, you did. But this is the power of the subconscious mind. You will spit out sentences that you have no clue you're spitting out from the programming. So in another instance, my sister closest to me was just telling me that they'd have our oldest sister was, my sister that's closest in age to me lives in Farmington, New Mexico. And my oldest sister's oldest son lives in Durango, Colorado, which is a couple-hour drive difference, not even that much. So they see each other frequently because my oldest sister always goes out there to see her son and her and her husband. And they were just out there for his 40th birthday, and some cousins of ours that I don't know hardly at all. They were from my dad's side of the family, were there, and so they invited them for dinner. And because this cousin hasn't learned how to deal with silence and know who he is, he has to fill the silence constantly with stories of himself. And I was married to a man like that. That's my first husband. Constantly has to fill the silence with stories of him and himself only. And when the dinner was over, my sister closest to me, witnessed the oldest sister going to her husband and saying, I'm so sorry for that. Please disregard that. That was absolutely, she saw that before the age of 5 in somebody, and she now mimicked it. And she's over 60.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So before we go further, we need to talk about the relationship between our brains and our mind. So our brain, which resides right here, is like a computer and a radio. It's a physical device. It's a love potion mixing bowl, or it's a hatred potion mixing bowl, stocked with an array of neurochemicals and hormones that are linked to the biochemistry of love or linked to the biochemistry of greed and hatred. So which one do we want to feed? The cascade of chemicals that derive love can be unleashed, not just by falling in love with a person, but by also falling in love with a project or an idea. So then the mind, which is the conscious, both the subconscious and the conscious creative mind, is analogous to the programming of the stations. So what station are you listening to? Okay, so for me, growing up the way I was, it was the programming of German, German culture. Then it was the Seventh-day Adventist religion, and then it was this, and then it was school, and then right? So you look at the programs that your mind got attuned to. The conscious creative mind is the seed of our personal identity. It identifies us as a distinct individual, a unique spirit. It manages our personal wishes, desires, and aspirations. It can look to the past and future, and it's not bound by time. Neuro researchers tell us that because of the conscious creative mind's ability to flip from thought to thought, humans on average use their personally creative conscious mind to control their behavior regulating cognitive activity only about 5% of the time. There we go again. We're reinforcing that. We only use, because of this butterfly flitting from flower to harvest the nectar, we're not gathering the programming or the patterns that this butterfly is getting, right? This is when you get into the Inca Incan medicine man's medicine wheel. You're coming up into hummingbird and eagle, which is the capability of seeing all these, putting the pieces of pollen from various flowers together and assimilating it into a pattern. But we're all in jaguar and serpent, which doesn't allow us to do that. The conscious mind's prefrontal cortex, right here, can process and manage a relatively measly 40 nerve impulses per second. Only 40 impulses per second. In contrast, the 90% of the brain that constitute the subconscious mind platform can process 40 million nerve impulses per second. This makes your subconscious mind 1 million times more powerful than anything.
Okay.
So you have to. This is what Ho'oponopono talks about, getting your inner child on board. You have to get on board. You have to get the subconscious mind on board, or it will fucking constantly sabotage you.
Wow.
So before we talk about the conscious mind, let's address the fact that by now we might be developing a negative attitude toward our powerful subconscious mind that seems to always sabotage our best efforts to create the honeymoon effect in our life. So I say with great passion that it's a waste of time to blame or fight our subconscious mind, which is our inner child. It's our demon. It's our devil. There is no outer devil. It's our subconscious mind that is the devil that Christianity refers to. So demonizing it, making a devil, is akin to watching a football game on TV or a soccer game on TV and cleaning up the TV for what the actors are doing or what the players are doing, right? That it's not the game they're playing, it's the programming, the play they're playing. Right? So our subconscious mind is really primarily an amazing record or playback mechanism that expresses little creativity and it has no sense of time. It is always in the present time for 3 seconds, and it doesn't listen or care when you yell at it. It doesn't give a shit if you yell at it. So it's best to acknowledge this inner child, the subconscious mind, this demon, this devil, and make friends with it. Get it on board. Get it to talk with it, to allow it to release all these programming. So in Hawaiian, the conscious creative mind is called the uhane or the lono. So the word lono contains meanings of awareness, communication, desire, thought, and achievement. Uhane contains the same, but adds the idea of giving life, spirit, direction, and purpose. So with that, our conscious mind or creative mind's primary function is decision making as well as making choices. And these are mostly based on our subconscious mind's memories. But yet when we bring the power of desire into being, it changes a whole lot. So what decisions, what choices, where to focus your attention so you can be a functional being? This is the conscious mind. Because if you can't focus, if you can't make decisions, if you just become a blob. The primary motivation of our uhane lono creative conscious mind is order, but this order isn't what we think of the cleanliness order, right? So people who are obsessed with cleanliness, it's because they haven't. It has more to do with rules, categories, and understanding. So this is my personal theory, is that people who are obsessed with cleanliness have to keep it, like my mother, who has to keep their house. She hasn't had the opportunity to rule, categorize, and do anything in her brain, in her creative conscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Our conscious creative mind loves logic, even when it's based on silly assumptions, and it loves explanations to bring order out of disorder. And I know this is very predominant in me because from when I was little, I fucking hate it being told, just do what I say you. No, give me a reason. Hey, give me a reason. I think my conscious creative mind has always been a rebel from day one. Give me a reason before you just tell me what to do, or I'm not going to do it.
Right.
For example, the people who spend their whole life classifying plants or classifying bacteria or classifying viruses, giving them all names, it's all just nothing. It's all because the reality is in the natural world, there is no Epstein-Barr virus, there is no coronavirus, there is no herpes virus, there is no streptococcus bacteria, there is no, right? They're all just organisms of life.
Mm-hmm.
So the tool of our conscious creative mind, Uhane Lono, is imagination. And since it is the only part of us that is under our direct control, imagination is of a vital importance. It sustains the environment of our free will, which is our personal life. Our willpower is housed in our solar plexus and also consequently our natural drive for intimacy. And in our solar plexus, and interesting that Hiroshika Noguchi, with his concept of Setai, said that, let me see what the state of your solar plexus is, and I can tell you the hour and date of your death. So if our drive for intimacy is blocked and our willpower is blocked, but a lot of us think it's not, because like my dad, he had this iron willpower. That didn't come from the solar plexus. That came from subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
So the primary attribute of our conscious mind is willpower and the desire to be intimate. But this willpower has bothered us for ages, and we say that when someone has strong willpower in the face of great odds, that person maintains a certain course of non-action or action, and we say that people with weak wills are easily manipulated. So, on the other hand, I have seen a person or two with this extreme still willpower be so easily manipulated by the bankers, by the pastors. And so we need to understand the nature of willpower. According to the dictionary, it has several meanings, and one is that is the reasoned power of making a choice or decision, and that's the one we'll go with. And the Hawaiian word for choice or decision is holo. Holo has the root meaning of to put forth the effort for achievement, and the word lono has the root meaning of to achieve desire. So if you put holo and lono together, you're putting forth the effort to achieve your desires. And desire is one of the most powerful evolutionary forces ever. And we don't talk about that. The new age buzzword is intent. Set your intention, which is clinical. It's scientific. It's not desire. It's sexy, erotic, and juicy. Intention is scientific. There's nothing sexy, erotic, and juicy about intention.
Mm-hmm.
So, can we reprogram this subconscious demon, our inner child? Yes, we can. Absolutely. We have to get him, both on board. So, first of all, we must be conscious of what we ask for and what our desires really are, because we will get exactly what we ask for. Although if we're not clear, we're just going to get a hodgepodge, and so then it makes us seem like we don't get what we ask for.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where it becomes really important to expand our mindfulness, expand our mindfulness moment from 3 seconds. by consciously asking, say, for instance, when I set my New Year's resolutions, what do I want my life to look like a year from now? And expand then our mindfulness from 3 seconds to 365 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go further with the 8-year cycle, Venus cycles, and simplify this, set an 8-year, what do I want my life to look like in 8 years? But she goes through her pregnancy cycles of morning star and evening star, which gives us time to birth. Part of this 8-year destination, 8-year goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can get really clear and create the change that we want to see. And then the next most important is to review our subconscious programming. This is why we do all our dojo investigations, to give the opportunity for us to say, yes, I will continue with this belief that was never mine and is somebody else's, or I choose to dissolve this belief and choose a new one that is in alignment with my desires to serve life. And so then the next important question comes, does my inner child or my subconscious mind then support my desires? Because if it doesn't, you ain't getting your desires. You can manifest all you want, and they're not coming if your demon child doesn't support it. So it's important to get this demon child subconscious mind on board.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step is to reprogram. And the important part of this is to understand the way our conscious and our subconscious minds learn. And this is really important because they are two different entities. The subconscious mind is a child. The conscious mind is an adult.
Okay.
And they do not learn in the same way. So our Lono, our conscious creative mind, can instantly learn from a variety of inputs. It can acquire new beliefs from books, schools, videos, excruciating psychoanalysis. And then we tend to get stuck in intellectual learning only. But educating the conscious mind does not reprogram the subconscious mind. So our conscious Lono, our conscious mind, our creative Lono mind, is creative and uses creativity to learn, while our subconscious mind, or our Ku, Unihipili, primarily learns either through hypnosis or the creation of new habits, habituation. So the mindfulness habit is to start paying attention to our thoughts, to note how many of them are not helpful. And researchers have corroborated that around 65% of our thoughts are negative and redundant. So note the negative thoughts and then spin them positively while staying fully present is a way of reprogramming. And then in 2010, researchers at Harvard University found that people spend almost half their waking hours thinking about something other than what they are doing. And could this be because what they're doing that does not match their desires? Absolutely, but Harvard University didn't investigate that. So they found that this mind wandering makes them unhappy, even if it wanders to pleasant subjects, because they're not doing what they're meant to be doing. They're not following their true desires. They're not following the impulse of life that leads them to do what they really want to do. So these researchers wrote that a human mind is a wandering mind, and the wandering mind is an unhappy mind. And the study found that mind wandering occurred on an average only 10% of the time during sex. So the most significant finding of the study is that mindfulness is a lot easier during love play.
Okay.
So, Golden Mother, Holy Mother's desire is for us to give her offerings of pleasure. And so when we offer up lots of pleasure offerings, we're staying mindful and our desires will come true, and we'll learn what our desires are. So then another totally shift out of that, hypnosis and subliminal tapes help us reprogram. Because as adults, the only time we're in theta waves is when we're coming out of deep sleep or going into deep sleep. So a theta-driven experience blends imagination and reality. And 2 times a day, our brain passes through the programmable hypnagogic theta phase, and so we have two opportunities to reprogram subconscious beliefs. But what if we followed the I'm not going to say it's just Mexican. It's got to go all the way into South America where it's so hot. The concept of siesta. You're going into theta then too. That's your third time. Third and fourth time going into siesta.
Right, though that's not something that happens so much. I mean, some people do take them, but it's more of a something that I think Americans think we have a lot of sisters, but it's not something that happens.
Well, maybe it was a practice back when.
Yeah, some people. Well, what we do have very strongly is in hot lands is not to go out in the sun and in the middle of the day. That's a very, very.
Yeah.
And of course, if you sleep a little bit, then it's a good moment. It's a good
Well, yeah,
moment.
so that's the opportunity to go into theta, program on both theta again, and program yourself with what you want to program yourself with. So patience is an important part of this, because to really dissolve, because the neurons that fire together get wired together, and to dissolve this wiring, it's important to have patience with yourself and others and the habits that continue to rear their heads. And practice. A habit is a behavior that you got to continue until the new neurons that fire together become wired together. So the most important step of this is reintegrating desire into our lives. Again, the New Age spiritual guruisms all teach intent, and no one addresses desire, which is the first evolutionary drive from the old ones, the Holy Mothers. Spider Woman in Shmukame's first desire was to share, to bond, to share her song, to pleasure herself and share with others, bond with others. Desire, she desired the most powerful evolutionary force. This desire to bond, which is I need.
Those words have been sticking with me all day today. I've been walking around that you told me that on a message, and that desire to bond, and I mean it explains why some man have that desire, that sexual drive is so prominent, and I guess many men have asked themselves, why is that? Why do we have that, right? And it would be that
Well, because we suppressed that desire, so we translate it into the sneeze be in the groin exclusively only.
Well, yeah, but not really. I mean, we do have that need to bond, and to me, like any way you can do that, right? Anything, but then also everything. I mean,
Yeah.
we want the full party. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. If we expand our 3-second mindfulness from of sex being genital sex only to, well, did I just really enjoy that talk with that person? It felt really intimate. That was a sexual experience.
Right, that's it, yes.
Right, a desire to bond. We bonded in that moment.
Just looking at someone and that, I mean, I was trying to see in my overall drive how much of that there is, how much of this, and but then this is really, I think it's interesting to point out. We, like you say, we're so reprimanded, so blocked sometimes. Society is built, and that got me. You know what I was thinking today, Ingrid? I was thinking, man, I wonder how it would be in a society that wasn't Christianized ever.
Right. Yeah.
Because I mean, you could think that Latin America, everybody's a little more easygoing sexually, or everybody's hotter, or or have more, and it's not like that at all. It's
Yeah.
just the opposite. I mean, people are still so,
Latin America has been so Catholicized. It's not
yeah,
even.
and so blocked from bonding, right?
Yeah, we
uh,
all have.
it's like everybody really wants to just bond, and everybody's just continuously like uh, avoiding it, like trying not to
Yeah,
let
absolutely.
that feeling pour out of them and just love whoever they meet somewhere random.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to address that further next week, but let's start addressing it now, saying while we might limit the honeymoon effect to two people creating a wonderful relationship, it's really about polyamory and being a noble gas to create the laser show of peace, pleasure, plenitude, and true freedom for all equally around our ailing human condition. So to explain this, let's imagine the periodic table of the elements. The 6 noble gases on the periodic table are helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, and radon. They are the only elements in the periodic table that don't form chemical compounds. The other 112 elements readily form chemical bonds with one another to create the physical bonds that make up everything, the physical molecules that make up everything. In the structure of an atom, the protons have a positive charge and the neutrons are equal with an opposite negative charge. So every atom is actually neutral with no charge at all. So the magic of the chemistry that creates us, the universe in total, is that based on the distribution of the charged particles in the atom. Now let's deviate from this for a little bit by talking about the Incas. They didn't have a market system. They didn't have a money system. They distribute it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The chemistry that creates is the distribution. So the protons, the positive charge, are massed together in the atom's nucleus. The electrons orbit around the atom's nucleus like satellites in various layers or shells. Atoms spin like nano-sized tornadoes. So if a shell is not completely full with its maximum number of electrons, the atom will wobble as it spins. Think of your washing machine when it's loaded on uniformly. Right? So the 112 elements all have shells that are incomplete and seek to balance their wobble by bonding with other atoms that have a complementary wobble. Noble gases are unique elements because they spin in perfect balance and they do not seek bonding partnership with other elements. So once we've gotten our subconscious mind, our coup, and our conscious mind into partnership, we're no longer a sodium atom that is desperately looking for a chlorine atom to cure our wobble, because we no longer wobble. Well, we might wobble once in a while. I know I wobble. Still, it's a lifelong journey. So we're a noble gas spinning in perfect balance, and noble gases can love the jerk while not getting attached to the jerk's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So noble gases have the ability to form excimers, which is a special bonding association between two atoms that would not be bound together in their normal state. Because when a noble gas atom is hit by a photon of light, its state is altered. It absorbs the photon's energy and begins to vibrate faster. So an enlightened noble gas becomes excited. And the noble gas atom in an excited state will seek bonding partnership with another noble gas atom so it can share that excitement. And I can relate to that. There's been a few times, and I share it with you all the time. I get so excited, I share it with you all the time. But the first time I can remember getting so excited that I shared it with a non-noble gas, and it just deflated me. Was for some reason, when I read that the atom, when it's not being studied by the under a microscope, is in a limitless dance with the universe, and it's only seen when it's being looked at. that's just really excited me. And I shared it with a non-noble guest, and it just excited me. Because non-noble guest I shared it with couldn't understand it.
Mhm.
So energized, excited noble gas atoms are like people who are primed and ready for stepping off the paradigm of the American way, which is accumulating the maximum possible personal fortune amount possible without concern for anything or anyone else. Noble gas atom people want to be part of something bigger than themselves and are ready to create a world of moonaki, the honeymoon effect of sharing and caring. So the excited relationship of an exomer results in its emitting extra energy as another photon of light. So exomer couples glow, and exomers lead to the creation of more extra exomers, which lead to the creation of a laser show. That's the noble gases all create the laser shows because they get so excited they excite everyone around them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So enlightened noble gases, humans can be like enlightened noble gases and have the same powerful effect of the laser show, because alive in each person's heart is the desire to participate in something bigger than themselves, really.
Wow. Wow, what an analogy.
So you want to create sodium chloride, which is necessary, but it will be created whether you wobble with someone else or not, or do you want to create a laser show?
Yep. Wow. Well, that's as light and expansive as we can be. Light and expansive. Wow. So look at that sun behind you, and all that radiance of wisdom and teaching. We very much appreciate it, and the sun keeps coming out, and this conversation continues
And it
on next
continues
week.
to create helium. Grandfather Sun continues to create helium, a noble gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does helium do when we inhale it? It makes us speak like a chipmunk. It makes us be,
Yeah.
most of us don't go up here, right? Most of us don't go up here in our vocal tones. So when we inhale helium, this noble gas that excites us, we use these upper ranges.
Oh wow. Yeah. Some indigenous people, they have this, what they call they don't lose their child voice. They say we have a child voice, and we forget to use it.
Yep.
And then they use that voice a lot with animals, and with obviously with kids, and with spirits.
Yeah.
And they say only the spirits only listen in the child. They only can understand you if you use the child voice.
It makes sense.
So wow.
Yeah.
And now that you say that the helium makes you, I didn't connect those two things, so that's incredible. So what's the connection of this to next week's conversation?
Oh, we're going to talk about the myth of monogamy.
Ooh, the myth of monogamy. That's the MM, huh? We're gonna serve you up the M&Ms of freedom.
Well, and we're going to kind of take it deeper than just sex and see how everything in our life, every fucking thing is about being monogamous.
Everything, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to make a word in Spanish. It's like monomania.
Monomania, exactly.
Monomania. We want everything to be mono. We want a monotheistic. We want monogamous. We want monolingual. We want
mono.
everything's got to be just one.
Right.
There's only one. There's only one truth, or there's only one. I mean, because yeah, there. in front of the lies there is a truth, but there's only one color, there's only one word of God, there's only one.
Yeah, monogamy in every. I mean, it goes from sex to every aspect of life.
Wow. Yeah, I want to invite everybody that is that I see so many people so ready for so many things that we share here on Aloha Nida Living, but not this one, right? This one, they just and I've confronted people with this subject, with this topic. Or not confronted them like aggressively, but like I've talked about this and invited people to think about it. And I was like, you have to know, hey, what do you think about, the fact that when you actually look at yourself, you do love more than one person. And they get blocked many
Oh
times.
yeah, but we have to understand that pornography, and hookers exist only because of monogamy.
Okay. Well, there's a lot that you're gonna be telling us, and let's not be the spoilers around the show. So we'll leave it
If
with
you're okay with the world of porno and hookers, then by all means have your monogamy. Be comfortable with your monogamy.
Yeah.
But know that 60% of people don't stay faithful in a marriage.
Right.
That's monogamy is hard work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So that's all we'll go into for tonight, because I've got to delve deeper into myself. But I mean, so for instance, I already am polyamorous because I have a diversified farm. I have pigs, I have goats, I have ducks, I have geese, and now I have turkeys and guineas, and I have donkeys, and I have cattle, and I have horses. Mm-hmm. I used to have bees. People can't understand that because we're all about monogamy, monogamous farming, monogamous. Right.
Monocultivo in Spanish, with monoculture. Would that be the word? Monoculture?
Yeah. It all comes down to monogamy.
Monogamy for the money.
Exactly. Right. And even specialization. So in nursing, my love, that was my destiny walk for a while. There's specialization, right? You're a school nurse, or you're a nursing home nurse, or you're an orthopedic nurse, or you're an ICU nurse. Oh, and that even segregates into neonatal ICU, a cardiac ICU, burn unit, emergency room. And I was never a monogamous nurse. I was all over. The only specializations I didn't know much about were orthopedic and right. But I could pretty much go anywhere in a hospital and function.
Wow.
But these nurses get so specialized, they can only function in one unit of the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It's monogamy.
Wow. So you're taking it into everything. Yeah, that's exactly how it is and what it is, and why we have to take a look at the sexual part.
Yes.
Because if we're not willing to take a look at that, we're not going to be able to change all the other monogamy that we're into.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Already then. So welcome everyone next week, 7:45 Mexico time. I'm in Mexico, 8:45 Central Standard Time, where Sacred Lutheran Women is. This is Aloha Nida Living. Thank you for listening, and please support us with all your love, like we do. And that's it. We end this.